In the year 2147, humanity was in a desperate war for survival. The Zoraki, an alien race from a distant star, had come to Earth with one goal: to conquer and destroy. They were ruthless, their ships powerful, and their armies relentless. For years, Earth's forces had fought back, but the war was taking its toll. Cities were in ruins, and countless lives were lost. The human race had never faced an enemy like this before, and now they were on the brink of collapse. Captain Sarah Matthews, a fearless and skilled commander, was one of Earth's last hopes. She had seen it all: planets destroyed, comrades fallen, and the ever-growing power of the Zoraki. But she never gave up. In the final battle, she took charge, leading her troops in a last-ditch effort to turn the tide. The battlefield was chaos. The sky was black with the smoke of burning ships, and the ground trembled from the force of explosions. Soldiers screamed in pain, their voices drowned out by the thunderous roar of alien weaponry. Sarah moved like a shadow through the battlefield, her mind focused on the mission, her body trained for this moment. She knew this was their last chance to stop the Zoraki. If they failed here, humanity's survival would be impossible. But despite their best efforts, the human forces were being overwhelmed. The Zoraki were simply too powerful. Their leader, the alien queen, watched from her flagship, controlling the battle from afar. Her daughter, Zana, stood by her side, her expression cold and calculating. "Finish them." The queen's voice echoed across the battlefield through the communication system. Her words were filled with authority, and Zana obeyed without hesitation. Captain Sarah and her team fought fiercely, cutting through Zoraki soldiers, but they were outnumbered. Her heart raced as she saw her fellow soldiers fall one by one. It felt like the end was near. As she ordered a last retreat, a Zoraki warship descended from the sky, firing powerful energy blasts. One of the blasts hit Sarah directly. The force was enough to knock her off her feet and send her crashing into the dirt. Sarah gasped for breath, blood staining her uniform. She tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't respond. Her vision blurred as the world around her began to fade. She could hear the screams of her comrades, the roaring of the Zoraki forces, and then everything went dark. From a distance, Zana watched the scene unfold. Her cold eyes followed Sarah as the human commander fell. She had seen countless humans die, but something about Sarah was different. There was a strength in her that Zana could not ignore. It wasn't just physical strength, but something deeper, a spirit that refused to break. Zana had fought against humanity for years, but this one human had always been different. It was almost as if Sarah was a challenge she couldn't quite understand. Zana's heart beat faster as she watched Sarah fall. For a moment, just a brief moment, Zana hesitated. Why? She couldn't explain it. She was an alien princess, bred to conquer, to destroy. Humans were nothing but obstacles in her path. But this human, this woman, was something else. The hesitation didn't make sense. She shook her head, trying to push the thought away. "Focus," Zana whispered to herself. Her mother's voice cut through the silence in her mind, a harsh reminder of her duty. "Destroy them all, Zana. Do not waste time on weaknesses." Zana turned away, her eyes cold once more. She would not let the weakness of compassion take over. The war had to end, and the humans had to be defeated. Sarah's death would be the final blow. But as Zana walked away, she couldn't stop the feeling growing inside her. Something wasn't right. Was Sarah truly gone? The queen had said she was dead, but Zana couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story. That nagging feeling tugged at her. Had Sarah survived? Was she really gone? Or was there something else at play? Zana glanced back at the battlefield, her thoughts racing. Could Sarah have survived? The human commander was tough. She had proven that time and time again. Zana had watched her from a distance during the war. She had seen Sarah fight through impossible odds, surviving things that would have killed most people. Zana had to admit there was a certain admiration she had for Sarah. But that was something she could not afford to feel. Not now. Not ever. The air around her seemed to grow heavier, the weight of her own thoughts pressing in. She turned away again, heading toward her ship, her mind filled with doubt. Was Sarah really dead? Or had something else happened? Something Zana couldn't yet understand. The mystery of Sarah's fate lingered in the air, unanswered. But deep down, Zana couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't the end of their story. The battle was over, but Sarah was not the only one who had changed. Zana had felt it too. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing. The war wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The war was over, or so it seemed. Earth's forces had been crushed, and the Zoreki stood victorious. The human resistance was shattered, and the planet lay in ruins. The world had watched as Sarah Matthews, their strongest commander, fell in battle. But Zana, the alien princess, knew something that no one else did. The human captain had not died. Weeks passed, and Zana returned to her homeworld with the alien queen. But Zana's heart was heavy with a secret she couldn't share. When the queen had given the order to destroy Earth's forces, Zana had followed it, just as always. But when Sarah had fallen in battle, Zana had seen something different. She had felt something stir inside her. It was not just the victory, nor the final defeat of humanity. It was something about Sarah. Zana couldn't shake the feeling that she had made a mistake. Had she truly seen Sarah die, or had there been something more? She didn't know, but the mystery haunted her. As soon as the battle ended, Zana's curiosity had led her to search for Sarah's body. It took hours, but she finally found her. Sarah was alive. Barely. Bloodied and broken, but alive. And it was then that Zana made a decision that would change everything. Zana had ordered her elite soldiers to bring Sarah aboard her ship, hidden away from the world. She couldn't explain why, but something inside her knew it wasn't over. Sarah's fate had not been sealed in the flames of battle. She was still out there. And now, Zana had her. As Zana's ship entered Zoreki space, her mother, the alien queen, stood waiting on the bridge, her eyes cold and unforgiving. Zana stepped forward, Sarah's unconscious body lying in the medical chamber behind her. The queen's gaze narrowed as she took in the sight. "You bring me a human?" the queen asked, her voice filled with disdain. "After everything we've done, you bring me one of them." Zana swallowed hard. She is not just any human. She's different. She survived the battle. And I believe there is something inside her. Something powerful. The queen raised an eyebrow. Powerful. She stepped closer to Zana. "What are you saying? Do you expect me to believe that this human could hold any worth to us? She is weak, just like the rest of them." But Zana shook her head. "She's more than that. She has strength, not just in her body, but in her mind. She was the leader of the human forces. Her instincts and courage are unmatched. She survived because there's something inside her that makes her different." The queen studied Zana's face carefully. "And what is it you want me to do?" "Keep her alive. You know what must happen, Zana. The humans must be destroyed." Zana's voice was softer now, more uncertain. "What if she could be an asset to us? What if she could become one of us?" The queen's expression grew darker. "You dare suggest such a thing?" Her tone was sharp and filled with anger. "She is human, Zana. She is nothing but a tool for us to use in the destruction of their kind. Nothing more. Do not forget your place." But Zana didn't back down. She had already made up her mind. Sarah was not just a human to be discarded. There was something more to her. Zana could feel it. The longer she watched the human commander, the more she realized that Sarah had something powerful within her, a strength the Zoreki could use. But Zana wasn't sure if that strength was something she could control. In the darkness of her chambers, Zana sat by Sarah's side as the human commander slowly woke up. Her eyes fluttered open, her breath shallow. Zana's heart skipped a beat as she watched Sarah struggle to sit up. The human's eyes were filled with confusion and fear, but there was also something else. Something dangerous. Sarah's gaze locked onto Zana's. "Where am I?" she whispered, her voice hoarse. Zana didn't answer right away. She couldn't. She wasn't sure what to say. She had brought Sarah here, but she didn't know what to do next. Everything had changed since that battle. Sarah was no longer just a human enemy. There was something more to her, something that even Zana couldn't fully understand. "You're safe," Zana said softly, almost as if she were trying to convince herself. "You're in my ship. You're not dead." Sarah blinked, her eyes searching Zana's face. "Why am I here?" she asked, her voice trembling with both anger and confusion. "What do you want from me?" Zana's heart ached as she saw the pain in Sarah's eyes. She wanted to tell her everything, to explain why she had saved her. But the truth was, she didn't have all the answers. "I don't know yet," Zana whispered. "But you're not the same. You've changed." Sarah's eyes narrowed, and for the first time, Zana saw fear in the human commander's gaze. "What did you do to me?" The question hung in the air, unanswered. Zana didn't know, but she felt it too. Sarah had changed, and that change would either destroy them both or lead them down a path neither of them could predict. Sarah's head throbbed as she slowly opened her eyes. The dim lights of the alien ship flickered above her, casting long shadows across the cold, metallic walls. Her body felt strange, heavy, like it didn't belong to her anymore. She tried to move, but a wave of dizziness hit her. Her limbs felt weak, yet something else, something unfamiliar, was stirring inside her. It was as if she was waking up to a new version of herself, one she didn't recognize. The memory of the battle flooded back in flashes. The explosions, the screams, the moment when everything went dark. She remembered the burning pain as the Zoraki warship struck her. She had been sure she was dead. And yet here she was, alive. A soft voice broke her from her thoughts. It was Zana, standing at the foot of the bed, watching her. There was something different in her eyes now. It wasn't the coldness that Sarah had seen before. This time, there was something softer, almost caring. "You're awake," Zana said quietly, almost hesitantly. Sarah pushed herself into a sitting position, wincing as a sharp pain shot through her body. Her head swam, but she fought to keep her focus. "What happened?" Her voice was hoarse, like she hadn't spoken in days. Zana took a step closer, her eyes scanning Sarah with a mixture of curiosity and caution. You were dying. But I saved you." Sarah blinked. "You saved me." Her voice was filled with disbelief. "Why? After everything, why would you save me?" Zana didn't answer immediately. She simply stared at Sarah, as if trying to understand herself. After a long pause, she spoke again. "You were different, even before the battle. You fought like no other human I've ever seen. I couldn't just let you die." Her voice softened. "And now, I don't think you're the same. Not anymore." Sarah's heart raced. What did she mean by that? What was happening to her? Zana seemed to sense the fear in Sarah's eyes. "I didn't do anything to you," she said quickly. "Not like you think. But something happened when you were on the battlefield. The energy from the blast. It changed you. You've changed." Sarah's breath caught in her throat. "Changed how?" Zana hesitated. "You're stronger now. Stronger than any human I've ever seen." Sarah clenched her fists, feeling a strange surge of energy inside her. It wasn't just the usual pain and confusion of waking up from injury. No, this was different. Her muscles felt like they could snap steel, her senses sharper than they'd ever been. She closed her eyes, focusing. She could hear the faint hum of the ship's engines, the soft click of a distant door opening. She could even feel the pulse of Zana's heartbeat in the quiet air between them. What was happening to her? "What did you do to me?" Sarah's voice was a whisper now, a mix of fear and anger. I'm not human anymore, am I?" Zana's eyes darkened. "I didn't change you. The Zoraki did. The energy from the blast. It merged with you in a way we didn't expect. You're still human, but now you have some of our powers. Strength, speed, even telepathy. Sarah's mind spun. Telepathy? What are you talking about? Xana nodded. I'm not sure how it works, but when you were unconscious, I tried to communicate with you, just to see if you could hear me. And you did. Sarah's eyes widened. You're saying, I can hear your thoughts. Xana seemed hesitant, but she nodded again. Yes, at least you can hear mine. I don't know if it's permanent, but it's strange, and it's dangerous. Sarah stood up, her legs still shaky, but the power inside her was undeniable. She could feel the electricity in the air, the hum of the ship's systems. The world seemed more vivid, more alive. She stretched her arms, feeling the surge of strength flowing through her, almost like a weapon waiting to be unleashed. This is insane, Sarah muttered, her voice full of disbelief. I'm not me anymore. I'm something else. Xana watched her, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. I'm sorry, she said softly, but I didn't have a choice. I couldn't let you die. And now we're both in this together. Sarah turned sharply to look at Xana, her eyes burning with a mix of anger and confusion. What do you mean, together? What does that even mean for me? For us? Xana stepped back, her voice a little shaky. I don't know, but we're connected now. The power inside you, it's a part of me now too. We share it. If we're going to survive, we have to figure this out together. Sarah's chest tightened as the realization hit her. This wasn't just about survival. This was about change, something beyond anything she had ever known. She had been part of a team, a leader, a soldier, but now she was something else, something the Zoraki had never planned for. The thought made her uneasy. She didn't know if she could trust Xana. She didn't know if she could even trust herself anymore. But there was no going back. Whatever had happened to her, whatever Xana had started, she was caught in it now. Tell me everything, Sarah demanded, her voice steady now. What's really happening to me? Xana's gaze shifted, as if considering how much to reveal. You have power, she said slowly, but you also have a choice. You can use it to destroy, to fight back, or you can resist it. But know this, it's not just the Zoraki you'll be fighting. It's also the part of you that wants to give in to the power. It's inside you, just waiting to take control. The room fell silent, the weight of her words sinking in. Sarah's transformation was only the beginning, and the true battle had just begun. Days passed, and Sarah could feel the changes inside her growing stronger. Every time she focused, the power surged through her body, like electricity running through her veins. She was stronger than before, faster, more aware. But with each passing day, the fear inside her grew. What was happening to her? And why? Was she losing control? Xana had been training her, showing her how to harness the power, but there was something unsettling about it. Every lesson, every demonstration, made Sarah feel like she was walking a fine line. She had to be careful. One wrong move, and the power could consume her. Xana had explained everything. How the Zoraki energy had altered her, how the strange connection between them worked. She had taught Sarah how to focus her strength, how to move faster, even how to use the strange telepathic abilities that now flickered in her mind. It all sounded like a dream. But each time Sarah tried to test the limits of what she could do, she felt the power pulsing through her with a hunger of its own, like it wanted to break free. Sarah clenched her fists, the muscles in her arms tense as she stood in the training chamber of the Zoraki ship. Xana stood at a distance, watching her closely, her eyes alert. Focus, Xana said. Let the energy flow through you, but don't let it control you. Sarah closed her eyes, breathing deeply. She could feel the pulse of the ship, the hum of the engines, but now she could hear more. Faint whispers, like distant voices, all blending into one overwhelming noise. It was her mind reaching out, responding to the power inside her. It was frightening, but it was also exhilarating. The power surged again, and this time, Sarah felt something shift. She opened her eyes, and before she even realized it, the air around her crackled with energy. A small blast of power shot from her hands, hitting the far wall of the chamber. The impact was so strong that it cracked the wall, sending dust and debris flying in all directions. Sarah's heart raced. She hadn't meant to do that. She had only been trying to concentrate. But now, she could feel it. How easily the power could slip out of her control. Zana was already moving toward her, her face serious. "You need to be careful," she warned. "The power inside you, it's dangerous. If you lose control, you could destroy everything. Not just us, but yourself too." "I'm trying," Sarah said, her voice tight. "But it's hard. I can't stop it once it starts. It feels like it has a mind of its own." Zana looked at her with concern. "The power doesn't have a mind of its own. It's you. It's always been inside you, just waiting to be unlocked. You have to learn how to control it before it controls you." Sarah nodded, trying to steady her breathing. She didn't want to lose control again. She didn't want to become a weapon, a danger to herself and others. But every time she reached for it, the power came to her so easily. It was like an old friend calling her name, tempting her to use it without restraint. She looked at Zana. "How do you do it? How do you keep your power in check?" Zana hesitated before answering. "I've had years of training. I've had to learn to trust myself, trust the power. But even then, it's not easy. There's always a temptation to let it take over, to destroy. But I've learned that the moment you stop controlling it, it controls you. And that's when you lose yourself." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. Losing herself, the thought was terrifying. Could she really hold on to who she was, or would the power consume her like it had done to others? She clenched her fists again, trying to focus, trying to feel the power without letting it take her. She closed her eyes and imagined a dam, holding back the energy inside her. But the power seemed to fight back, pushing against her mental walls, trying to break free. "Don't let it overwhelm you." Zana's voice came again, softer now. "You're stronger than it. You just have to believe it." But Sarah wasn't sure anymore. The power felt like a storm inside her, wild and untamed, and every time she tried to hold it back, it only seemed to grow stronger. Suddenly, something inside her snapped. A sharp pain shot through her head, and her vision blurred. She gasped for breath, clutching her temples. The power inside her was no longer just a force. It was an entity, a living thing. It wanted out. And if she didn't let it, it would tear her apart. "Sarah," Zana cried, rushing to her side. "You have to focus. Hold on." Sarah's heart raced, her mind spinning. She couldn't control it. The power was too strong, too wild. She could feel it tearing through her, threatening to break free. Her body trembled with the effort to hold it in, but she didn't know how much longer she could last. In that moment, something strange happened. The voices in her mind, the ones she had been hearing, the whispers of power, became clearer. They weren't just random thoughts. They were guiding her, teaching her. They told her to relax, to stop fighting the power. They told her to trust it. The storm inside her calmed, just for a moment, and Sarah took a deep breath. Slowly, she opened her eyes and let go. The power surged outward, but this time, she controlled it. She directed it. Her hands glowed with energy, but it didn't feel dangerous anymore. It felt right. Zana stepped back, her eyes wide with surprise. "You did it," she whispered, awe in her voice. "You actually did it." Sarah looked down at her hands, a mix of fear and wonder in her heart. She had done it. She had controlled the power. But as the energy faded, a new question arose. Was this truly who she was now? Or was she just playing with fire, waiting for it to burn everything around her? The battle for control had only just begun. and the cost of failure was something Sarah wasn't sure she could live with. Days turned into weeks as Sarah continued her training with Zana. The power inside her was no longer just a strange force. It was part of her now. But every day, she struggled with the fear that it would consume her, that she would lose herself in the power. Zana had shown her how to control it, but deep down, Sarah knew the real battle wasn't just against the Zoraki. It was against herself. Despite the tension, there was a strange bond forming between the two. Zana was no longer just an enemy. She was a mentor, a guide. But even Zana had her own demons. Sarah could feel the conflict in her, the same fear Sarah tried so hard to hide. One night, as Sarah lay in her quarters, her mind raced. The whispers were growing louder, more insistent. The power inside her was becoming harder to ignore. Sometimes, it felt like it was calling her, urging her to embrace it fully, to let go and unleash everything she had. But every time she did, a part of her hesitated. Was she strong enough to control it, or was it only a matter of time before she became what the power wanted her to be? She pushed herself up, feeling the weight of the questions pressing on her chest. The room felt too small, the walls too close. She needed air. She needed to think. When she stepped out onto the deck, the cold night air hit her face, sharp and refreshing. The Zoraki ship drifted silently through space, its dark form blending with the endless stars. It was strange to think of it as her home now, even though she wasn't sure where she belonged anymore. Zana appeared behind her, her footsteps soft against the cold floor. "You're troubled," she said, her voice calm, but there was a hint of concern beneath it. "What's wrong?" Sarah didn't turn to face her. She couldn't. "Not yet. I don't know what's happening to me, Zana. The power, it's growing. Every day, it gets stronger, and I can't control it. I'm afraid I'll lose myself. I'm afraid I'll become something I can't stop." Zana stepped closer, her eyes searching Sarah's face. "You're afraid of yourself," she said softly. "I understand that. The power inside you is a part of you, just as much as your fear is. But you must learn to trust yourself. If you don't, you'll lose control." Sarah shook her head, the words heavy on her tongue. "I don't know if I can. Every time I close my eyes, I can feel it. It's like the power is alive, and it wants something from me." Zana's expression darkened, and she reached out, placing a hand gently on Sarah's shoulder. "It's not the power that wants something from you. It's the enemy within. The fear, the doubt. Those are the things you must fight, and the only way to defeat them is to face them." Sarah's heart skipped a beat. The enemy within. Zana nodded. "Yes, the power is a tool, but it is also a test. You are not the first to wield it. The Zoraki, the other races, they have all faced the same struggle. And the ones who failed, they were consumed by the power. They became nothing but a shadow of themselves, controlled by the very thing they tried to control." The weight of Zana's words hung in the air, and Sarah felt the cold fear creeping into her chest again. Could she truly fight the enemy within? Or was she doomed to become one of those shadows? Suddenly, a loud alarm rang through the ship, shattering the moment. The sound was harsh, urgent, and it sent a wave of adrenaline through Sarah's body. Zana's eyes snapped toward the control panel. "We're under attack," Zana said quickly, her voice cold with authority. "Get ready, Sarah. This is what we've been training for." Before Sarah could respond, Zana was already moving, her feet swift and sure as she headed toward the ship's control room. Sarah hesitated for a moment, the fear in her chest rising again. This was it, the moment where everything would change. She followed Zana, her heart pounding in her ears. The power inside her buzzed with anticipation. She could feel the energy pulsing, eager for battle. But Sarah was no longer sure if she could control it. Would it help her fight? Or would it betray her, turning her into something she couldn't control? The control room was chaos. Alerts flashed across the screens, and the crew scrambled to respond. Zana stood at the center, barking orders to her soldiers. Sarah tried to steady her breathing, focusing on the task ahead. This was her moment to prove she wasn't just the human commander who had been saved. She had to be more. She had to be the one to stop whatever was coming. "Stay close," Zana ordered. "We don't know who's attacking yet, but we'll have to fight our way out." Sarah nodded, her hands clenched at her sides. She could feel the power inside her, but it wasn't just waiting. It was pushing, urging her to fight, to let it all out. She stepped forward, ready to face whatever was coming. The ship shook violently, throwing everyone off balance. A new alarm sounded, louder this time. The enemy had breached the outer hull. Sarah felt a jolt of panic, but she pushed it down. She had no time for fear. Not now. "We need to act fast," Zana said, her voice sharp. "Get to the weapons bay now." As they ran toward the weapons bay, Sarah's mind raced. What if she couldn't control the power in the heat of battle? What if she became a danger to everyone around her? What if the enemy within, her own fear, her doubt, was the true threat? But there was no time to dwell on it. The ship was under attack, and she had to fight. She had to trust herself, even if she wasn't sure she could. The chaos on the ship was like nothing Sarah had ever experienced before. Alarms blared, lights flickered, and the crew scrambled to repel the attackers. The Zoreki were outnumbered, but they were also fierce. Sarah could feel the tension in the air, a feeling of impending doom that gripped her heart. This was it, the moment when everything would come to a head. Zana was beside her, her eyes cold with determination as they made their way toward the central control room. "We're going to have to hold them off," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "They'll want to take the ship. We can't let them." Sarah nodded, but her mind was elsewhere. She could feel the power inside her, thrumming with energy, urging her to let it all out. The whispers in her mind had grown louder than ever, each word a call to action. The fear and doubt were still there, but they were being drowned out by the surge of power that coursed through her body. She clenched her fists, trying to steady herself. The battle wasn't just physical, it was mental. The power she wielded, the thing that had saved her, could just as easily destroy her. Could she control it when the stakes were so high, or would she become the monster she feared? The control room doors slid open with a hiss, and Sarah and Zana were greeted by the sight of the enemy. Alien soldiers, massive and terrifying, had boarded the ship. They moved with a brutal efficiency, tearing through the crew. But what shocked Sarah most was the sight of their leader, an imposing figure clad in dark armor, his eyes glowing with a fierce intensity. Zana stepped forward, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We'll need to take him down if we have any hope of surviving." Sarah felt the power inside her stir, a violent surge of energy rushing to her fingertips. The air around her crackled with static, but she took a deep breath, forcing herself to focus. She had to remain in control. She couldn't let the power take over. Not now. The enemy leader, sensing her presence, turned his glowing eyes toward her. "You think you can stop me?" he sneered. "You are nothing but a puppet, a pawn in a game you don't understand." Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her chest. "I'm not a pawn. I'm human, and I will not be controlled." With that, the battle began. The enemy leader lunged at them, his weapon glowing with deadly energy. Zana moved to intercept, engaging him in a fierce duel. But Sarah couldn't just stand by. The power inside her was boiling over, demanding to be released. She could feel the heat building in her hands, the surge of energy growing stronger with every passing second. She raised her hands, and the room seemed to tremble with the intensity of the power she was unleashing. Lightning-like energy shot from her fingertips, hitting the enemy soldiers with enough force to knock them off their feet. The power felt wild, untamed, but this time Sarah didn't hesitate. She was in control. The enemy leader turned to her, fury in his eyes. "You think you can defeat me with this?" He raised his weapon, preparing to strike. But Sarah was already moving. With a burst of speed, she closed the distance between them, her hands glowing with energy. She didn't think. She didn't question. She simply acted. The power inside her surged outward, hitting the leader with a force so strong that it sent him crashing into the wall. For a moment, everything went silent. The enemy leader struggled to rise, his armor smoking from the blast. But Sarah knew this wasn't over yet. She could feel the power inside her, still hungry, still demanding more. She could feel it whispering in her mind, urging her to finish it. Zan appeared beside her, breathing heavily from her own battle. "Don't listen to it, Sarah," she warned. "The power, it wants you to destroy him. But don't let it control you. You are not like them." Sarah looked at Zana, her breath coming in ragged gasps. She didn't know if she could hold back the power much longer. The battle, the fear, the doubts, it was all too much. But then something inside her shifted. She wasn't fighting just for survival anymore. She was fighting for herself. For the first time, Sarah understood what Zana had meant. The real battle wasn't against the enemy. It was against herself. With a determined breath, Sarah took a step forward, her hand still crackling with energy. But this time, she controlled it. She focused it, shaped it into a precise beam that struck the enemy leader square in the chest. He crumpled to the floor, the light in his eyes fading. The battle was over. For a moment, there was only silence. The enemy had been defeated. The power had been controlled. And Sarah had won. Zan approached her, her expression filled with pride. "You did it," she said quietly. "You controlled it." Sarah nodded, feeling the weight of the battle lift from her shoulders. She had faced her fear. She had faced the power inside her. And she had won. But as she looked around at the wreckage of the ship, she knew this wasn't the end. The war wasn't over. But now Sarah wasn't afraid. She had proven something to herself. She was no longer just a survivor. She was a warrior, strong, in control, and ready for whatever came next.